So how old were you at the time, and how much time do you think passed from being in front of the counter and pulling the trigger?
I was 19 years old at the time. He was 24. I'll say it was 45 seconds, 30 seconds. It was right out, because I was at the counter and got my stuff, and you know, he walked up and he was talking, and then I went out. Then he came right out. So I don't know. I just thought that the fact that he was here meant that, damn, I'm finna get blasted, and my gun is in the car. You see, because this is the heart of Eight Tray Gangsters hood. So the fact that he came in like that, I don't understand that.
You remember where your car was parked?
It was right in the front.
Can we walk over to that spot?
Yeah, sure.
Come this way.
What's up, dawg? Good to see you. Car was actually right here. It was right here. Car was right here. This wasn't a handicap spot. Car is actually right here. Right here. Yeah.
What's it like standing right here? Now we're really at the crime scene, huh?
Mm-hmm. Because the shooting actually took place here to right here, this corner. He came to rest right here.
So when he walked out the store, I guess his car, or he was going in this direction?
There was a van right here. He came, it's my understanding, he pulled up in a blue van. It was either right here or right here. Yeah, it was right here. So he was going towards this van, apparently. I don't know.
And take me through, you go in the car, you pull it out, and...
Yeah, so I get in the car, and as he's coming out, I'm going towards him, and I don't want to relive that for everybody, right? So I'm not gonna give an account of that like that. But I will tell you, the shooting took place right here, in this area.
So after the shooting, you jumped in your car and left?
Well, actually, I left the car here because I didn't want people to see me get back into the car. And because it was broad daylight. So initially I told him that a struggle ensued upon this wall, right? And that we bump up against this wall, and I end up getting a gun. And I told him, I said that I dropped the gun here and ran across Florence and Normandie that way. But the fact is, again, it wasn't self-defense. You know, I shot him cold-bloodedly. And then I ran across Florence and Normandie. And what's interesting, I heard two little girls coming from around 71st. And they knew me, because like we had friends that stayed on the corner houses and the first 4 houses. And so I heard the kids saying, they were like saying, Joker did it. Joker did it. And so what happened was, I went all the way around. Like the AutoZone place wasn't there. It was like a little, I don't know, upholstery place. But I was able to go and access my friend's backyard. So I was looking, let me show you something. I don't know if you can see it, but see where that tree is across the street? Across the street, you see the purple flowers right there? See the purple flowers?
Yep.
So right there on the other side of that was my homeboy's garage. And so I came up and looked over the wall at this site, and I could see the gathering start to take place from back then.
So, because people were already saying your name, how long did it take before the LAPD had you in custody?
4 days. No, 8 days. 8 days. Total of 8 days.
And when did you know they were coming for you?
After hearing that my mother and little brother were killed.
Okay, so how long did it take when that happened?
That happened 4 days after the shooting that took place. The shooting took place here September the 7th, 1985, and my mother and little brother were killed September the 11th, 1985.
So you weren't in custody when that happened?
No, and then I got arrested September the 15th, 1985.
Woo, man.
Yes, yeah. I'm gonna tell you, man. It was a blessing. A blessing, I'm gonna say, for myself and for the community. Because at that point, I'd already been involved in so many different forms of violence, right? So many different forms of violence. And so, the irony is, when I look back at my young mentality, where I realized my brain wasn't even formulated, like, I had a Rambo mentality. Like, I went and dressed in all black. I had intentions on going over into the Rollin 60s neighborhood and committing acts of violence, and then driving out to Pomona, and then coming back out here and driving out to Pomona. So, I was with the ante at that point. And what I mean by that, when I lost my mother and my little brother, that meant everything was off. And so, I'm saying it was a blessing that I didn't get an opportunity to commit those acts of violence that I had in mind.
Now, there are some people that will say back then in 1985 and even today in 2024 that a little brother and a mother should have been off limits. Regardless of what you and I are going through, a younger brother who's not a member, am I correct, who's not a member, and a parent should be off limits.
Oh yeah.
What conversations were going on back then when your mother and little brother got killed?
So, for me, again, that was the most devastating thing to happen to me in my life. And so, that put me in a whole different space. Because then it was no longer about gang banging. It was personal now. So I did all the banging through juvenile hall, camp, youth authority, in the streets. You know, at 19, you know. But at that time, it wasn't about banging no more. Banging was trivialized, it was petty. Fuck that shit. That's where I was at then, because of that happened. But I can tell you this, it wasn't fuck it. What it meant was my reality changed, and my objective changed, and my anger and my violence changed. So now I'm not about the gang politics anymore. So because anybody tell me nothing, this is who I am and this is what I'm gonna do. And so for me, I want a revenge. I definitely want a revenge. And I'm gonna tell you, I was out 4 days before I went back to prison, before I got arrested. So
the 60s learned very quickly what had happened to their homeboy.
Yeah.
And
they knew, because everybody knew. The kids knew.
Yeah.
The police knew. Everybody knew.
Now my question you didn't answer is, what was he doing here in the first place?
That's just it. why would he be doing here? I can't
did he
answer
have
that.
a family member that lived around the corner? Was there? Did
Well,
you ever learn that?
Well, the thing is, our neighborhoods were like this. I mean, you walk either direction, you run into one another. But we way down here on Normandy, right? But he definitely had spots over there, what, 66, 65th? He had, there were, you know, people had spots because, you know, that's just the way it was. You know, it wasn't like, you know, you can be in a neighborhood and be all the way out the way. You know what I'm saying? But he actually, he didn't grow up too far from here. You know, from my understanding.
So how did you get arrested? How did they get you in custody? What was that like?
So I just so happened to be on 66 in Broadway, over that way. And they followed one of my friends to because they were looking for me. They were like taking people's parents into custody. They were like running up in people's spots looking for me, right? So they end up following someone to where I was at. And when I got ready to walk out, I walked out one morning, right? And I was really like at a state of like disbelief, questioning God, like why? And I just walked outside just to look up and question God. And I went back in the house. And next thing you know, they had the place surrounded. So they end up getting on the loudspeaker, you know, telling me they know I'm in there, come on out. And at first, I ran to the back, grabbed the gun, was gonna try to leave out the back door, but I saw them, they had that surrounded. So then I just stood for a minute just holding the gun. And then I heard Crazy D on a microphone, on a loudspeaker. And he told me, come out. He said, they know you in there, homie. He said, come out. They know you in there.
I've never heard of that before. So they actually had Crazy D from Eight Tray.
He told me to come out, man.
To give up.
He told me to come out.
What did you think about that?
I think that D saved my life, man. D knew where I was at. He knew my state of mind. He knew. He could foresee me probably shooting it out with the police. So D had foresight in that moment. You know? He was thinking.
But what was he doing with the police?
Me and D were together. He just happened to be outside.
Oh, okay. So they grabbed him.
Yeah, D ended up going to jail. He went for what they call that?
Accessory.
Harboring a fugitive. You know, there was relatives there. So we had, you know,